69% of black children are born out of wedlock.
That's why black kids are failing.
Most black women are raising kids alone.
You've heard this conversation before. The claim that black children are failing in school. The claim that black women are raising the majority of children alone. Repeated, accepted, rarely questioned.
They point to one statistic: 69% born out of wedlock. And they interpret it as proof that fathers are absent and children are failing. But an interpretation repeated often enough becomes belief.
But what if that interpretation is wrong? What if the majority of black fathers are present? What if the majority of black students actually graduate? Let's look at the actual data.
Damaging and misunderstood narratives in the black community today is the claim that black children are failing in school because black women, particularly single mothers, are raising the majority of children alone. This argument is almost always based on one statistic: that 69% of black children are born out of wedlock. But what people fail to understand is that this statistic refers strictly to marital status at the time of birth. It does not tell you whether the father lives with the child. It does not tell you whether the parents cohabit. And it does not tell you whether the father is involved in raising that child. People hear 69% born out of wedlock and incorrectly translate that into 69% raised alone. And that is simply false. According to Bowling Green State University's National Center of Family and Marriage Research, which analyzed CDC National Survey of Family Growth data, a majority, 55% of black fathers report having only co-residential children, meaning they live with their children in the same household 100% of the time. In addition to that, another 18% of black fathers report having co-residential and non-residential children, meaning they are actively raising at least one child in their household, even if they have children elsewhere. That means the majority of black fathers are living with and raising their children. Only 26% reported having exclusively non-residential children. This completely dismantles the false narrative that black women are raising most children alone, or that black fathers are broadly absent from their children's lives. The data shows that the majority of black fathers are present in the home and raising their children. But the misinformation doesn't stop there. The second major talking point people use is the claim that black children are failing academically, and they almost always point to the 4th grade reading scores as their evidence. I've heard black people say black children are not proficient in the 4th grade, but they never explain what proficiency actually means. These scores come from the NAEP, which divides student performance into 4 levels: below basic, basic, proficient, and advanced. Below basic means partial mastery of skills. Basic means the student has fundamental grade level skills and competency. Proficient does not mean passing. It represents solid academic performance above the fundamental level. And advanced represents superior performance. Now, this is the key point that people deliberately or unknowingly misrepresent. Basic is considered functional academic ability. Proficient is a higher benchmark, not the minimum requirement to pass school, not the minimum requirement to advance grades, and not the minimum requirement to graduate high school. When people say only a small percentage of black 4th graders are proficient in reading, they are ignoring the fact that many of those students fall into the basic category, meaning they can read and function academically. They are not illiterate. They are not incapable of learning. They simply have not reached the higher proficient benchmark on that specific test at that specific time. And more importantly, that 4th grade assessment does not determine their future educational outcome.
You've probably heard this statistic before, that in the 4th grade, 56% of black children scored below basic in reading. And many people stop right there. They present this number as if it's permanent, as if it defines the child's future.
But when you follow those same students forward to the 8th grade, something important happens. Now, 57% of black students are at basic or higher. That means the majority have functional literacy. They improved.
This is what academic development looks like. Students grow, students improve. A 4th grade assessment does not define the outcome, because by 8th grade, the majority are no longer below basic. They moved forward.
Because when you look at the actual outcome that matters the most, high school graduation, the narrative completely falls apart. According to the U.S. Department of Education, approximately 81% of Black students graduate high school on time, and nearly 90% graduate overall when accounting for delayed graduation and GED completion. That means the overwhelming majority of Black children successfully complete the education system. In layman's terms, I want you to imagine 100 students starting kindergarten. About 81 graduate high school on time, about 7 to 12 graduate later. GED, delayed graduation, etc. And about 6% permanently drop out. Some of those children may struggle academically, but they still graduate. So in other words, most Black children reach the graduation goal, and even though some struggle, only a small minority fail to graduate, not the majority. Let me say that again clearly. Nearly 9 out of 10 Black students graduate high school. That would not be possible if the majority were failing. That would not be possible if most Black children were being raised without structure, without parental involvement, or without support. The outcome itself proves that Black parents, including both mothers and fathers, are successfully raising their children into adulthood. The problem is that people are taking 3 completely different statistics: birth statistics, proficiency levels, and household structure, and collapsing them into one false narrative. They take a birth statistic about marital status, misinterpret it as father absence. Then they take a proficiency statistic from the 4th grade, misinterpret it as academic failure. And then they ignore the actual outcome statistic, which shows that the overwhelming majority of Black children graduate high school successfully. And in the process, Black women and single mothers are unfairly blamed for a problem that the data itself does not support. The truth is, the majority of Black fathers live with and raise their children. The majority of Black children develop functional academic skills, and the overwhelming majority of Black children graduate high school and enter adulthood. So the next time someone repeats that claim that 69% of Black children are born out of wedlock as proof that Black women are raising children alone, understand that they are misrepresenting what that statistic actually means. And the next time someone points to the 4th grade proficiency scores as proof that Black children are failing, understand that proficiency is not the minimum standard for academic success, and those scores do not determine whether a child graduates. The real outcome tells the truth. The real outcome shows success. The real outcome shows that Black mothers and Black fathers together are raising the majority of Black children into adulthood. And this is why I need the Black community, especially Black men, to understand the weight of repeating narratives that you did not personally research, verify, or trace back to their original source. Because when you repeat these claims that Black children are failing, when you repeat that Black women are raising the majority of children alone, and when you repeat that statistic about 69% of births out of wedlock without understanding what it actually measures, you are not just criticizing Black women, you are unintentionally erasing the millions of Black fathers who live with their children and raise them every single day. You are literally spitting in the face of the very Black men who are present, who are involved, and who are doing their job as fathers.
Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am.
Most people who repeat these talking points cannot cite the original source. They cannot tell you it came from the CDC. They cannot tell you it came from the National Survey of Family Growth. They cannot tell you it came from Bowling Green State University. They simply heard it repeated, often by media personalities, white supremacist groups, political commentators, or individuals on social media who themselves misunderstood or misrepresented the data, and they accept it as fact. And historically, many of these narratives were amplified by individuals and institutions that did not have the best interests of the Black community in mind. These narratives were used to frame Black families as inherently broken, to frame Black fathers as inherently absent, and to frame Black mothers as inherently irresponsible. And instead of challenging those narratives with data, too many people within our own effing community have internalized them and now repeat them as if they are absolute truth. And this is why we have to stop spreading propaganda ourselves. We cannot complain about how the outside world or the white man.
Would you like some cheese?
Did you just offer me cheese?
Yes, I did.
I'd love some cheese, thank you.
views the Black community while simultaneously repeating the most negative and misleading interpretations of our own statistics. We cannot say we don't know who leads our community while actively undermining the fathers and families that do exist. And we cannot build solutions on a foundation of misinformation. Because the truth is, if more people simply took the time to research these statistics, to actually understand what they actually measure, and to interpret them correctly, it would eliminate a huge portion of the confusion and division we see today. But until we do that, until we stop repeating things just because they sound familiar or emotionally satisfying, we will continue to reinforce narratives about ourselves that are incomplete, misleading, and in many cases, completely false. The reality is clear. Black fathers are present. Black mothers are not raising children alone in the majority of cases people claim. Black children are not broadly failing, and the data proves it. The question now is whether we are willing to accept the truth or whether we'll continue repeating narratives that were never fully understood in the first place. And this video is a great place to start. Peace.